Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Trent. This is Rams Talk. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Rams-Eagles Week 2 game recap. And let me just start this off by saying, fly, Rams, fly. Or climb, Rams, climb. Or graze, Rams, graze. Whatever Rams do, that's what we're doing. Welcome to the channel. Like I said, my name is Trent. We're going to be talking all about this game. I don't have a lot of the data, the stats, the numbers, the PFF stuff isn't out yet because this is basically, I'm filming this to come out Monday morning. So there's still a lot of kind of open data out there, but I just wanted to get something out there and talk about this game because when I searched YouTube this morning, there really wasn't much out there. It was all Eagles stuff, really. And anything that was kind of like a neutral or like a media site that was breaking down this game, the narrative was, what did the Eagles do wrong? Yeah, what did the Eagles do wrong? Or the meltdown of the Eagles. Now, I get it because it's Philly and it's always way easier and way more entertaining and you get more clicks and eyeballs on the team that's melting down, right? That's easy, but no credit to the Rams. It's not, what did the Rams do to win this game? You know, maybe the Eagles lost because of what the Rams did. You know, the week before against Dallas, it was the whole narrative of that game, even though the Rams outplayed the Cowboys from start to finish, the narrative of that game was the missed OPI. And now the narrative of this game is Wentz and Doug Peterson, and no one is talking about what the Rams did and how impressive the Rams are. You know, you go to that clown Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, I guarantee you when he comes out with his thing after this game, his recap, him and Chris Sims, he's going to be talking, it's going to be all about how the Eagles blew the game and how the Eagles are bad. So anyways, this is all Rams, it's all positive. Thank you everyone for subscribing, for joining the community. If you just found this on YouTube, you typed in LA Rams and you found this and you're a Rams fan, you have to subscribe because when you search on YouTube, you're not going to get many other Rams content or much other Rams content. This is it, okay? So subscribe, join the Ramley, it's all good. So many awesome people in here. Neil, I see you. So one of the guys, Neil, who comments all the time, I saw him on just what I said on a breakdown from, I think it was ESPN, talking about how did the Phillies blow it, and he's saying the Rams came out and opposed their will. The Rams led in every category in this game that matters. They led in every category. They outplayed the Eagles. This is the first time the Rams have beat the Eagles since 2004, and it's about freaking time. All right, so I'm happy. It might seem like I was upset with that a little bit, but I'm happy. You can also find me on Instagram at LA Rams Talk and Twitter at Real LA Rams Talk. So let's get into it. Now, if I just had to say one thing about this game, what I'm really seeing from this season and this game in particular is balance. Yin and yang. It's happening. The running game, the passing game. It's flowing beautifully. And like Jared Goff says, and like he said before, and McVay said, and everyone says, and everyone knows, the passing game operates off of the running game. You get the running game going, the passing game follows. So in this game, there were 27 pass attempts compared to 39 rushes. So, I mean, and when you say balance, I mean, it's skewed to the run, but that's what you need to do, especially when you're averaging 4.9 yards per carry, 191 yards. So coming into this game, or especially coming since 2016, the Eagles under Jim Schwartz as a defensive coordinator have had the best run defense in the NFL in terms of yards allowed on the ground, at 92.2 yards per game allowed on the ground. They allowed 100 more yards than that in this game. Rams rushed for 191 yards in this game. That was one of my keys before, is the Rams have to run. They have to establish that run, and that's what they did. Now, when I compare the first two games of last season against Carolina and the Saints compared to these two games, granted both 2-0 starts, so can't really complain about the last two seasons. But the Rams are plus 17 rush attempts through two games this year compared to last year, and plus 63 yards. So overall, 344 yards this year compared to 281 yards last year. 79 rushes this year compared to 62 rushes last year. And the interesting thing, when I even looked at the passing stats through 2 games in both years, the Rams have passed for more yards in this season and on fewer passing attempts. So they had 58 passing attempts this year compared to 67 last year. And they have 527 yards through the air compared to 448. So it's just more efficient. And so, when you look at Goff this year, you think, well, he's not, we're not having these, bombs. He's not throwing these bombs, so it's all this dink and dunk stuff. But he's averaging more yards per play. In fact, he's 4th in the NFL in yards per pass attempt. 4th. So if people are saying he's just, just a check down guy doing these easy little things, little dink and dunks, no. I mean, he is doing that. But, you saw the pass to Darrell Henderson. You saw the pass to Higbee. He's throwing it down there. So, it's just efficient. The balance is there. And speaking about the efficiency, and I'm going to I wanted to talk about this later, but I'll mention it now. The Eagles coming into this game, all the players knew, kind of like everyone knows, that the Rams have all this misdirection and all of these things, and they know it. So it's staying disciplined. And they knew all of this stuff. And they still couldn't stop the Rams. They still couldn't do it. Because the Rams just executed. That's what they're doing. Goff looks comfortable. He had a couple overthrows. But he's looking comfortable and he's executing. Right? 3 touchdowns. So anyways, it was a masterful game plan from start to finish. The Rams scored 14 points in the 4th quarter. They started off strong. And I'll tell you what. The game could have been, the Rams could have scored in the 40s, right? Or the score would have been different had Cooper Kupp not fumbled. Now you say Miles Sanders fumbled, and so Cooper Kupp fumbled, so it's kind of the same, but it's not, because Cooper Kupp didn't have to return that. Like, he should have just fair caught it, or and stood there, because you don't need to make anything out of that, right? So that was just a kind of a bonehead play, whereas the Miles Sanders play, that was a running play. So, to be honest with you, that really could have been a 37-13 game, because they went for 2 and didn't get it because of Leonard Floyd. So, I mean, that really swung the momentum. I had nerves in the second half, but the Rams had more total yards, 449 to 363. They converted in the red zone, which was a problem last week. They fixed that. They were 4 for 5, so that was great. And the time that they didn't convert was when they were in there, and then Higbee got called for the OPI, the extending of the arms. So that's a little karma, okay? It happens. Can't complain about that in the Dallas game. And then say whatever here. The referees have been consistent. They called it for and against the Rams, okay? So that was a red zone thing, and then he overthrew Darrell Henderson, so they didn't convert there. Turnovers were the big story here, 1 versus 3. So you had the Kupp turnover, then you had the Miles Sanders turnover, and both Wentz interceptions. Time of possession, Rams at 31 minutes, the Eagles just over 28 minutes, and both teams were good on 3rd down, 7 for 12. And that was what was kind of driving me crazy. To talk about that more on the defensive side of the ball, but offensively, the Rams were efficient, the Rams were clicking, the Rams were on it. That's McVay. We have McVay. This isn't Jeff Fisher, any of those Spagnuolo, Linehan. This is McVay. This is a smart guy, offensive coordinator now, all the pieces. So if we want to talk about the play of the game, I think we all know what it was. It was the Darius Williams pick in the end zone on Carson Wentz. If you go to Instagram and you check out the Rams Instagram stories, they had a social media person or just someone there recording with the iPhone, like right where that play took place, right behind, and you see Wentz looking and throwing down. And they talked to Darius Williams after the game in a Zoom press conference, and he said that the coaching staff, basically, the players and the coaching staff, they know the routes that all the receivers on the opposing teams usually run. So when he sees J.J. Arcega-Whiteside lined up over there, he knows that he does like 2 or 3 routes, and the post was one of them. So that play that he intercepted the ball on, they practiced against that specific and exact play in practice. So it wasn't just like an instinct. That was, if they throw the ball to this guy, Whiteside, I know where to be because I know what it's going to be. And that is the game before the game within the game. And that is execution on Darius. I mean, that was a great interception. So, that's just, we got you, Eagles. We knew what you were doing. But that was the play of the game because I was nervous. I was like, oh man, they're gonna tie the game up here. Touchdown. The momentum was all in Eagles' favor. But that was it. That was the game. The tide turned back to the Rams right after that. So, because it was kind of a brutal, 6 minutes from the end of the first half to that. So, Darius Williams, great game, great pick. Other aspects of the game that I thought were very crucial were when it was 4th and 1 in the third quarter with just over 6 minutes to go. Rams on their own 30. 4th and 1, they go for it on the sneak, and they get it. That's huge. If you don't get that, that changes everything. So that was a gutsy play, and that worked out. They also had a key third down conversion at the end of the game when Cooper Kupp ran around on the handoff and then just slid down. It was like what Todd Gurley used to do. Had such awareness for the clock and the timing of the game. So that was another huge play, was converting on that 4th down in the third quarter when the momentum was still kind of up for anyone's up for grabs. That's what I meant to say. Up for grabs. And so I want to talk about a couple players of the game, especially on the offense. Darrell Henderson. Darrell freaking Henderson. This is the guy the Rams drafted 2 years ago. He finally did it. So last year he didn't get a lot of run because he was injured and they still had Todd Gurley. And because Cam Akers went out, I hope Cam Akers is okay and he can play next week. But Darrell Henderson, we finally got it. We finally got what we paid for out of Darrell Henderson. And I'm really happy for him because I guarantee you no one has been bummed out more about Darrell Henderson than Darrell Henderson. So we've got finally a glimpse of the guy that we saw when they drafted him. Receiver, running back. He had that 40-yard scamper. He had that pass down the sideline. He combined for 121 total yards in his first real, he played last year in some games, but this was his first real game. He scored that touchdown. Let me tell you about that touchdown. You know what impressed me the most about that touchdown? You watch the highlights, look at Robert Woods. So on that play, you have Blythe, you have Corbett, you have Havenstein, then you have Gerald Everett, and right behind Havenstein is Robert Woods standing right there. Kind of like a fullback in a way, but really a receiver standing right there. And they hike the ball, and he just seals it off, and he gets in there. They used him as a blocker. They didn't have Johnny Munt in there, or maybe they did, but that was Robert Woods blocking. So when you talk about Robert Woods' worth to this team, it is total. It is everything. So happy for Robert Woods to be locked up. Plays like that. But Darrell Henderson was awesome. Awesome. So, the Rams have so many weapons at every personnel group, running backs, receivers, tight ends. It's all, they are loaded. They are loaded. If this is kind of like your third one of 3 running backs that's doing this, come on. It's not fair. It's not fair, but I'm really happy for Darrell Henderson. He looked good. He really, really looked good. Now, Goff was 13 for 13. Then he hit a lull, but then he came back. He missed a couple throws, a couple easy throws. But then you see some of those throws that he missed, he had pressure. So, that's just Goff. If he can set and fire, he's on it. So Goff had a great game. Higbee, I'm so glad the Rams locked up Higbee before he had this breakout last year. 3 touchdowns. I had him start in one fantasy league, sat him in another fantasy league because Zach Ertz. So that was kind of a bummer. But, Higbee. right? He's legit. There's no doubt about who the tight end of record is for this team. It is Tyler Higbee. So both those guys stepped up, made nice catches, made nice plays. In fact, Higbee, he ran out of celebrations on the third TD. And so he totally ad-libbed that one to the fake crowd doing the opera bow. So great stuff right there. But if we want to talk about the real star of the offense, it was the offensive line. Second game in a row. I watched the replay on NFL Game Pass. I was like the full game in 40 minutes. And listen, haven't got the PFF grades yet. And I am by no means a PFF expert. But Joe Noteboom was doing well. David Edwards came in and did really well. But that offensive line, they were having their way. 191 yards on the ground. And Goff wasn't sacked. So in 2 games, Goff has been sacked one time. He's had hurries, he's had some pressure, but they kept him clean for the most part. Remember last year how many times Gurley was getting hit in the backfield? Like 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, like all the time, no holes, nothing. That's not the case this year. Yes, they had about 5.5 tackles for a loss, but it was nothing, like 1st and 10, now it's 2nd and 12, 2nd and 13. So it was all manageable, and the offensive line looked good. I want to say Austin Corbett looked really good. The right side of that line looked really good. So, they mitigated that pressure coming up the middle. They got the ball out fast. So, there aren't enough good things to say. Van Jefferson stepped up. What do you have? 3-4 catches. Looked like, and Josh Reynolds had 2. So maybe Van is starting to really take that third wide receiver spot. So, all around, 7 or 8 people caught a ball. Players caught a ball. It was great football. Cooper Kupp. That play they did to Cooper Kupp, and I think in the second half or first half, when Goff rolls out to the left and then he looks back across the field and Kupp is standing there right in the middle and he throws it to him and he's got a wide open lane down the middle. That's what they did a lot with Higbee last year. That's just always a little gem. Beautiful. And, after Kupp fumbled that ball, he came up big in the third quarter. And I have no issues with Cooper Kupp generally. Everyone makes a mistake. No big deal. We move on. Didn't cost us the game. That's good stuff. But the offensive line was physical. Like Olivia Newton-John in the 80s. Physical. And people say the Rams are such a finesse team. Go ask the Eagles and the Cowboys if the Rams finessed them to death in those two games. Yeah, I didn't think so. Enough with that. These narratives are just horse. Yeah, got to keep it safe for the PG for the kids, okay? But you know what I mean to say. Now, when it comes to the defense, I really felt, and I'm conflicted on this because overall, the Rams held the Eagles to under 20 points. Cowboys under 20 points. The Rams and the Ravens are the only 2 teams in the NFL through 2 games to hold both opponents under 20 points in the game. And the Eagles aren't bad. The Cowboys aren't bad. The Rams defense is good. And here's the thing. I was kind of going crazy with, it seemed like Miles Sanders was having his way in the second half. All these third down conversions to Deshaun Jackson, but the longest play they had the whole day, the Eagles, 25 yards. So when you look at the Eagles coming into this game, offensively, you got Miles Sanders. They're going to try and run the ball his first game back from injury. So you got to stop the run. But then they have Deshaun Jackson and Jalen Reagor, speedsters. So you have to keep them in front of you because against Washington, they had a couple big catches, those guys. And they're fast. So you just no big play. Then you have Goddard and Ertz work in the middle, getting lots of targets, lots of receptions, lots of yards, scoring TDs. So how do the Rams do against all these things? So they had difficulty stopping the run. So the Eagles ran for 121 yards. Miles Sanders ran for 95 on 20 rushes. But I kind of feel like they could have run for more. I had the sense that in the second half especially, they were just getting 5 yards a carry all the time. And the Rams rush defense, I was thinking come on, make a stop. Come on, make a stop. But when you look at the box score, 121 yards, that's pretty respectable to let's keep in mind, this is a top offensive line in football. with a really good running back and good tight ends. So 121 total yards between two running backs, Boston Scott and Miles Sanders, is not bad. It's not bad, but it just felt different. It felt like they were running the ball more effectively than they were. But here's this. The Rams on defense had no sacks and no tackles for loss. Part of that was because Wentz was getting the ball out faster. If you're watching the game, they're talking about how, check, getting the ball out faster, hard counts, all these things. Short passes, and that's what they did, because coming off the Washington game, they're like, oh, we got to get the ball out faster. Something they should have done in the second half of the Washington game, but they didn't. So, that's kind of what the Rams are doing. They're getting the ball out faster and mitigating the pass rush and the run defense, or pass rush, yeah. So the Rams, though, 0 sacks and 0 tackles for loss. It seemed like the offensive line was doing well in pass protection, but they're also fine with the small plays. Like, hey, march down the field, just don't bend but don't break. So that was interesting. And the Rams are also good against the tight ends. And what I noticed second time I watched this is the chip. So they noticed that on that great open field tackle that Micah Kaiser had on Miles Sanders, Leonard Floyd rushes from the end, but he bumps Miles Sanders and holds him up, so he messes the timing. So by the time he turns around and gets the pass from Wentz, Micah Kaiser's there and makes a great open field tackle. And if you watch this, all the defensive ends, or the outside linebackers and some safeties, other cornerbacks at the line, they're always chipping at the tight ends and kind of disrupting that timing, just holding them up just a beat, so other players can get in position to make plays and stop them. And last week against Washington, Goddard and Ertz were 16 targets, 11 receptions for 119 yards and 1 or 2 scores. This week, they were 15 targets, 9 receptions, and 72 yards. So almost 50 yards less, and a couple of receptions and targets fewer than last week. So they did a good job on the tight ends. They didn't allow any big plays. And Micah Kaiser, he had himself a day. 16 tackles, 11 of them being solo. He was all over the place. He was physical. So tip of the cap. This year we're seeing what all these guys can finally do. We never really saw Darrell Henderson reveal himself, or Micah Kaiser. Even Obo was in a lot in this game. So we're seeing a lot of these rookies, and obviously our second, third-year guys. We're seeing Jordan Fuller. Fuller had 9 tackles, 5 solo. Troy Hill, 8 tackles, 7 solo. Troy Hill, when the Eagles were marching down the field in the second half, it seemed like all these third down conversions or big plays were happening against Troy Hill, but he was still making a tackle, and he was still on the receiver, and I think they switched that up and put Jalen Ramsey on Deshaun Jackson. But, I don't think Troy Hill had a necessarily bad game. He gave up some receptions, but he never got, burned. It wasn't like last year, the couple seasons, Marcus Peters and the safety are like, what's going on? Troy Hill, I think, and then he had that interception, which really sealed the deal. It was kind of garbage time, but it was nothing. Troy Hill wasn't as bad as I think a lot of people want to say he was in this game. He never really got beat. Just good throw, good catch. And then there was that one really weird play where the Rams, it was like 2nd and 2, and they rushed it and looked like Malcolm Brown was going to get it, but they called the play dead because there was a second ball on the field. Has anyone here seen second ball on the field? Nah, me neither. So it was a weird play, but then they got it again with Robert Woods going around, and Robert Woods making that catch and getting nailed by Nickel Roby-Coleman, holding on to it. Can't say enough about the guy. But anyways, really loved pretty much everything about this game except for the Kupp fumble and some of the defense in the second half. Nerves, it was kind of a roller coaster, even though the Rams were ahead the whole game, right? They took a wire to wire. So anyways, there you go. I'm sorry I don't have all the data, all the stats, all the things I usually like to throw in here to tell you kind of how they graded metrically. But this, initial reaction, Rams are 2-0, going to Buffalo next week. Going to watch some Buffalo tapes, all the highlights, and Josh Allen is, he's real deal. So anyways, if you like this, hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't seen it, if you're new. For all the Legacy Rams watchers, thank you for your comments. Thank you for everything. Robert Woods, you can cue the music now. I'm going to put up a video over here. You can subscribe right here. And I'm going to drop something probably Thursday and a review for the Bills game. I think I'm going to do a live stream on Wednesday. I'll let you guys know in the community section. So, yep, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all the love. Really feeling it here in the Ramley. Sweet 2-0 to start the season. This team is going to go far. Feeling really good. So have yourself a great Monday. And as always, go Rams.